In this video, we're talking about why most fractional executive pipelines break. And what's important to understand is that pipeline failure is almost never dramatic. Most pipelines don't collapse overnight, they erode. First, I'm going to explain the early warning signs that a fractional pipeline is already breaking, even when things still look fine on the surface. Then, I'm going to walk through the most common structural failure patterns I see across experienced executives, regardless of role or industry. I'm also going to share how someone can still be doing all the quote right activities and still be walking directly towards pipeline failure. And finally, I'll explain why pipeline breakdown keeps repeating for smart, capable executives, even after they believe they've fixed it. So let's dive in. Most fractional executive pipelines don't break because executives stop working. They break because the pipeline was never designed to survive normal fractional conditions. Conditions like fluctuating delivery load, inconsistent visibility, long buying cycles, and reputation based trust. When a pipeline isn't designed for those realities, it may function temporarily, but eventually it will fail. And when it fails, it's going to fail quietly. The first failure pattern is one most executives commonly interpret it actually as success. In the beginning, momentum already exists. You have a reputation, you have prior roles, you have credibility that precedes you. So conversations come easily. Former colleagues reach out, referrals appear, people say, I heard you're doing fractional work now. And this feels like validation. It feels like proof that your pipeline is working. But this momentum is borrowed. It's not built. It's drawing from past credibility, not present structure. Borrowed momentum always runs out. The mistake most executives make is assuming that early success equals long-term stability. 6 or 9 months later, conversations slow down. And it's not because demand disappeared. It's because nothing replaced the initial momentum. And that's when panic sets in. Executives start asking, what changed? The truth is, nothing changed. The initial momentum simply expired. Pipelines built on historical reputation without ongoing structure always break, not suddenly, but inevitably. Another common reason pipelines break is because activity hides the real problem. Executives stay busy, they're posting, they're engaging, they're replying to messages, they're taking calls. From the outside, everything looks healthy. And this activity creates that feeling of progress. But activity is not stability. Activity can mask structural weakness for months. The problem only appears when activity drops, usually because your delivery is ramping up. Your client work is increasing. So your attention is shifting. Your energy gets redirected, and all of a sudden your pipeline slows right down. And not because something broke, but because activity was the only thing holding it together. If pipeline collapses the moment you stop pushing, it was never structurally sound. A stable pipeline continues to function even when your focus moves to client work. Activity can hide problems, but structure will prevent them. And this is one of the most subtle and damaging failure patterns. People know who you are, they've seen your content, they recognize your name, they respect your background. But awareness alone does not create conversations. Executives often assume visibility naturally leads to engagement. It doesn't. Without a clear transition from awareness to action, people will remain passive. They will observe, they will consume, and they will move on. There is no moment where engagement becomes natural, no friction point that invites conversation. So visibility increases, but pipeline does not. Over time, this creates confusion. Executives feel known, yet conversations don't materialize. The issue isn't relevance, it's transition. Pipelines break when awareness has nowhere to go. Fractional work introduces a unique stress test. Delivery isn't steady. It comes in waves. When delivery ramps up, your attention shifts. And this is where many pipelines, they just quietly collapse. If the pipeline requires constant attention to survive, delivery will always win. Client commitments take priority. Your pipeline motion will then slow. Your visibility drops. Weeks are going to pass. And then the executive looks up, realizes pipeline is thin or empty. And this creates that dangerous cycle of feast or famine. Delivery success creates future instability. Executives often misdiagnose this as a time management issue. It's not. It's a structural dependency problem. A resilient pipeline is insulated from delivery pressure. If delivery kills pipeline, the pipeline was fragile from the start. Many pipelines break not because there are too few conversations, but because there are too many of the wrong ones. Executives take call out of politeness, out of curiosity, out of optimism. Every inquiry feels like potential. But over time, this will erode your confidence. Conversations will feel repetitive, explanations are exhausting, and energy drains faster than it is replenished. When qualification happens too late, or not at all, pipeline leaks energy. Executives start dreading calls instead of looking forward to them. That dread is a signal. A healthy pipeline filters before the conversation. If conversations drain you, your pipeline is already breaking. This is one of the most dangerous failure patterns because it's invisible. Executives don't know why conversations are happening. They can't trace what triggered the interest, what moved someone to act, what caused momentum to stall. This is one of the most dangerous failure patterns because it's invisible. Without feedback, there is no learning. Without learning, nothing improves. And when movement stops, decay begins. What once worked quietly stops working. Executives respond by doing more, not by understanding more. Effort without insight accelerates burnout, not stability. Pipelines don't break suddenly. The decay quietly happens when there is no feedback loop to course correct. So why do smart executives keep experiencing the same breakdown? Here's the pattern that repeats. An executive notices instability. They respond with effort, more activity, more outreach, more visibility, and that works briefly. And then the same breakdown happens again. And it's not because the executive failed, but because effort was applied where structure was required. Until pipeline exists independently of personal effort, it will keep breaking predictably. So when we talk about why most fractional executives' pipelines break, we're not talking about motivation or discipline. We're talking about momentum without replacement. We're talking about activity without structure, awareness without transition, delivery pressure without insulation, conversations that have no qualification, and we're about creating effort without feedback. These failures don't mean there's something wrong with you. It means your pipeline was never designed to survive fractional reality. And now that you know why most fractional executives' pipelines break, I want you to go see how this all fits together. Go watch the next video, The System Behind Predictable Pipeline for Fractional Executives. In that video, you will see how these failure patterns are resolved when pipeline is designed as a cohesive structure instead of a fragile set of activities. Go watch the next video.